When we have fractions, decimals, and percents, we're gonna start here with decimal to a percent. Okay? The way you do it is you just take the decimal and you multiply it by 100. That's all you have to do. When I multiply anything by 100, I just move the decimal 2 places to the right. Show the arrow. Anytime you're going to be moving this, I need to see the arrow. So then 48 hundredths becomes 48%. I have the decimal and I need to move it 2 places to the right. And that becomes 8%. If I have it here and I move it 2 places to the right, that becomes 256%. It doesn't matter where your decimal is. What if I have just the number 7? If I have just the number 7, you're going to assume the decimal is here because it's a whole number. And then I need to move it 2 places to the right. So then it becomes 700%. So if you don't have the decimal, you assume it's all the way to the right of the number because it's a whole number, and you move it to the right. So a decimal times a percent, we are going to write in our definition, it is to times it by 100 is the same as moving the decimal right 2 places. So multiplying by 100 is the same as moving the decimal to the right 2 places. So now we're going to go the opposite. We're going to go from the percent to a decimal. To go from a percent to a decimal, you just divide by 100. If I'm dividing by 100, you put your decimal. If this is a whole number, your decimal is 97. So I'm going to put my decimal in. And I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So now it becomes 0.97. 9%, your decimal is here to the right, and I move it 1, but you still need to move it 2, so that you have to have a placeholder here. So it would be 0.09. Let's say my decimal is here. Because these are all whole numbers. I'm going to move it left. 1, 2. So 125% is 1.25. Another example. Let's say I got like on your last test from yesterday, some of you might have gotten like an 88.9%. To change it to a decimal, I'm moving that 2 places to the left. So if I move it 2 places to the left, I'm showing the arrow because I'm going to the left. So you'll rewrite it as 0.889. So percent and dividing by 100 to a decimal, you would say dividing 100 decimal left 2 places. I want you to highlight or circle or do something for this next one. And I don't know about you, but I'm just gonna keep rotating my wheel around. So now I'm doing a fraction to a percent. On this one, you take the numerator, circle, divided by the denominator, circle, times 100. So for 3/4, you take 3 divided by 4. 4 goes into 3, 0 times. Add the decimal. Bring that decimal up. 4 goes into 30, 7 times, right? Just 28. We already did one like this. 2 left. Add the 0. 4 goes into 20, 5 times. So I've got 0.75. But we need to change that decimal now to a percent. So now I'm going to move the decimal to the right 2 places. So now my answer is 75%. I moved it to the right 2 because it said to multiply by 100. 2/5. You take 2 divided by 5, so I'm doing my division. 2 doesn't go, or 5 doesn't go into 2, so I add a 0, add my decimal, bring it up. 5 goes into 20, 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. So there is my decimal, 0.4. But I need to multiply it by 100, so I'm going to move it 2 to the right. Add a 0 in that place value, and now it's 40%. I don't have any other notes to write down here because I've underlined it here. Now we're going to take a percent to a fraction. When I get anything as a percent, yes, nowadays you can get a little bit more, you can get more than 100%, but what do we consider a whole? 100%, right? So for a percent to a fraction, you put the percent over 100. Change color here. So I'm gonna make that 9 over 100. So percent to a fraction, you just put the percent over 100, and then I need to reduce that. Can I reduce 900? Nope. 97% is 97 out of 100. I can't reduce that either. So 125% is 125 over 100. I can reduce this. I can do it by 25, which would be what? 5/4. But then I'm not gonna leave it as an improper fraction either. 5/4 really becomes 1 1/4. So for our notes here, we wanna say, you put percent, over 100. And then reduce. Or instead of saying reduce, we say simplify. We're on to decimals to a fraction. You need to first read the decimal as it is. I'm not gonna say it's 0.06. I need to read it like a decimal and what place value it is, because this would be the tenths, this would be a hundredth. So I read this as 6 hundredths. So you write it like it's written. So if I have 6 hundredths, I now need to reduce it by, or simplify it, what can I reduce it by? 2. And that becomes 3 50ths. I don't read it 0.48. I read it as 48, 48 what? Hundredths. 48 hundredths. I can reduce this also by 2, but I could also reduce it by something bigger than 2, which would be 4. If I reduce it by 4, it becomes 12 what? 25ths. Can I reduce it any more than that? No. I don't say 0 point. I say 0 and 125 thousandths. I'm going, if I were, I can actually reduce by, I can reduce by 5, I can reduce it by 25. I can also reduce by 125. If I did that, it becomes 1/8. I'm gonna give another example of a decimal. So I have 1 and 35 hundredths. You're gonna write it as 1 and 35 hundredths. Just like before, you're going to take the 1 out. Well, if we wanna just make it we're just making it a fraction, sorry. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. But if I wanted to change that from the fraction to a decimal, so you have the decimal, okay? And then I'm gonna reduce the 35 hundredths by 5, right? So 1 and 7 20ths. So what you're doing is you're putting the digits over the last number, or the last place value. So we're just gonna shorten this up. Put digits over last place value. So like this was the hundredths, this was the hundredths, this is the thousandths. Can I also do it with the tenths? Yeah, I can give another example here. 0.8 is written as 8 tenths. And yes, and it can be reduced to 4 fifths. Alright, our last one, stick with me guys, we're just about there. Fraction to a decimal. all you do is numerator divided by the denominator. We've done these a lot. Fraction to a decimal. So I just take
You can't
seven,
really see it.
oh, thank you. We just take 7 divided by 8. 8 doesn't go into 7, so I add a decimal. Help me out, the sooner we can get these done, the faster we can be done with these. 7 goes into 70 how many times?
8.
Or 8 goes into 70, thank you. 8 times 8 is?
64.
70 minus 64 is? Add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 60. 7 times 8 is?
56.
4 left, add a 0. 8 goes into 40. 5 times and I'm done. That's my fraction to a decimal. 4/5. If it's a fifth, you should have it memorized. Okay, a fifth. So I'm just gonna write down here, 1/5 equals 0.2. But if I have 4 of them, it should be a 0.8. So, but just to do it, 4 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 4. Bring up the decimal. 5 goes into 40, 8 times. To get some practice, if I go back to my original where it says fractions, decimals, percents. If I look in the top left-hand corner, it says D to P. That's saying a decimal to a percent. So I'm taking this decimal, and I need to make it into a percent over here. I'm going to show my work, moving it 2 places to the right, my decimal. And then I'm gonna rewrite it, 30.04. Percent to a fraction, bless you. I need to show all my steps. I'm going to put 85 over 100. Then I'm going to divide by 5 on each of them. And that becomes 17/20. My final answer is in this box. This is a fraction to a decimal. You're going to show 5 divided by 8 and do your work. This would be a percent to a decimal, fraction to a percent to a fraction, decimal to a fraction, decimal to a percent, fraction to a percent, and percent to a decimal.